The entire story must start from 800 years ago. The demon clan once descended into the human world, continuously destroying humanity. It was under the prayers of many humans that the deity manifested. A war god named Idaten descended to the world, wielding powerful military force, sweeping away many demons and driving them back. Subsequently, the bodies of the Veda war gods were used to form a seal, blocking the entrance through which the demons could access reality. Thus, humanity welcomed long-lost sunlight. 800 years later, only Hayato, Rin, Esli, and Paula remained of the Veda. At this time, facing the resurrected demons, humans appeared very excited. For them, it was a tool to wage war against the enemy, and they even considered these demons to be quite docile. Yet in the next moment, one of them smashed down a fist, overturning the crowd. Then, drawing power from the lake, it fired a heavy artillery shell directly at Paula, repelling her. In this moment of life and death, Hayato, with his swift footwork, arrived in front of the demon and knocked it down with a kick. However, the humans, misunderstanding the situation, started shooting at Hayato, provoking his anger. He grabbed a soldier by the collar, ready to teach him a lesson. But the demon quietly approached from behind and launched a fierce attack. At this time, Esli used a supersonic impact to counterattack, which could penetrate a tank, but it had no effect on Gyudo-kun. Taking the opportunity, Gyudo-kun then pierced through Esli's chest. At this moment, Paula appeared and kicked at Gyudo-kun, who responded with a punch that hit Paula, causing her to spit blood. Then, as Gyudo-kun prepared to strike her dead with a palm, Paula disappeared from beneath his hand. It turned out that Esli, who had just been pierced through, had rescued her. This surprised the doctor greatly. Despite a pierced heart, Esli could still survive and escape. Still capable of rational analysis, Esli considered Gyudo-kun's attack patterns to be simple, like those of an insect. Although powerful, Esli still had an absolute advantage in speed. Moreover, the doctor reviving the demons was unaware of Idaten's existence. Returning to the battlefield, Hayato began a fierce counterattack. His powerful attacks shocked the doctor. Then, with a dive, Hayato pierced through the abdomen of the demon, defeating Gyudo-kun and saving the people. The Veda who saved the world were also secretly studying the existence of demons. The so-called Idaten, divine beings, are naturally occurring products of nature. They are born from the source of the world and can emerge spontaneously after hundreds of years, even if ignored. If guided by a Idaten, they can be born immediately. Typically, a newly born Veda would recognize their guide as their master. At this time, Paula also informed Rin that her guide was Pranteya, Rin's disciple from 200 years ago. She had been rigorously trained by Pranteya for 200 years and was qualified in her abilities. But then, Rin asked Paula if she wanted to follow her in training. Paula did not give a negative answer, thinking it was only the first training session and shouldn't be too harsh. But the next second, Rin's punch made her spit blood. As Paula fell down unable to rise, it was Esli's turn. As expected, he ended up just like Paula, with shattered internal organs, unable to get up. At this moment, Hayato, who leaped out from the lake, couldn't help but comment that Rin was still as violent as ever. Looking at the two lying on the ground, he sighed. Paula probably isn't far from death now. Rin replied that it wouldn't be so easy for a Idaten to die, suggesting that lying down for 3 days would be all that was needed for recovery. Facing such rigorous training, Hayato felt it was cruel, but still deeply acknowledged its necessity. He mentioned, "As long as our internal organs get shattered a few more times, we'll be able to adapt well." Meanwhile, the human army, as always, was engaged in endless warfare, igniting the passion of many soldiers. On the other hand, even after Hayato finished his training, Paula and Esli still felt unable to move their bodies, which made Paula question the effectiveness of such training. Esli also answered at this time, "We Idaten are different from many other creatures, including humans, right down to our cellular structure. So of course, our training methods are different. Firstly, the heart is not a fatal weakness for us, unlike it is for humans and demons. They die when their hearts are destroyed because they can no longer circulate oxygen and nutrients. As Idaten, we don't need to breathe or eat, and even if our blood doesn't flow, we are still in human form merely because human will is overwhelmingly strong. And why Paula can communicate with birds is because her body contains a higher proportion of bird will. Thus, Rin's training, which shattered their bodies, forced them to continuously reconstitute, thereby reshaping themselves in the direction they needed to grow. 800 years ago, when the human race was being mercilessly slaughtered by the demon race, the Idaten fought back the demons and used their own bodies to seal and block the demons from emerging. Since then, Rin became the only deity left from 800 years ago. In today's reality, a doctor named Ubami revived a long-dormant monster to test the strength of the current deities. However, Hayato instantly defeated the monster. Back at the base, Dr. Ubami gave the recording of Hayato killing Gyudo-kun to many demons. Clearly, the demons present did not feel frightened. At this point, the doctor displayed photos of Paula and Esli and asked if anyone could defeat them, to which all demons present raised their hands. The doctor then showed Hayato's photo and asked the same question. And again, the majority of those present raised their hands. Seeing this, the doctor asked again, if there are many such little demons, and even a master hundreds of times stronger than them, who still believes they can defeat them? The room fell silent for a few seconds, but then Nickel and Brandy, two demons, still raised their hands. The doctor believed that this couldn't continue and decided to probe the strength of the Idaten by sending the incredibly powerful Nickel. Meanwhile, Paula and the others continued their training as usual, which seemed to have some effect this time. After cooperating with each other, they finally managed to hit Rin. But for Rin, this was child's play. She effortlessly threw Paula and the others hundreds of meters away. Just as they were being tormented by Rin, a transport plane flew overhead, and Nickel descended from the sky. This time, Nickel, usually cheerful and joking, appeared very excited and mad. Seeing Nickel's terrifying demonic aura, Paula immediately fled the scene, perceiving Nickel as a huge monster. Hayato was not afraid. He stepped forward to question the purpose of his visit. However, Nickel launched an attack immediately. Angered by being pierced through, Hayato unleashed a flurry of punches on Nickel. But Nickel felt nothing. He even grasped Hayato's fist with one hand, and then countless tentacles began to burrow into Hayato's arm. Soon, Hayato's body was pierced by numerous tentacles. Nickel intended to continue testing the endurance of Hayato's body, but Rin appeared swiftly, punching Nickel hundreds of meters away with disdain and gesturing for him to attack. Nickel extended his tentacles towards Rin, but before he could react, Rin was already in front of him. After a barrage of punches and kicks, a distanced Nickel morphed his arms into shields, flipping everyone present. While Nickel was smug about his attack, he found that Rin had caught it single-handedly. After the exchange, Nickel, revealing a joyful smile, thought Rin had lost the use of his hands and could not last long on feet alone. But with a casual flick, Rin's fingers instantly regenerated, abruptly stopping Nickel's smile. Esli and the others fled to the top of a mountain, staying within sight of Rin, as leaving his range would be very dangerous. Sure enough, on a distant mountaintop, a demon with a sniper rifle was waiting. Meanwhile, Rin, still in the midst of battle, paused and curiously asked what exactly Nickel was. Rin had seen many demons 800 years ago, but none had the ability to communicate or a human appearance like him. Nickel explained that their demon lord, Ubami, had given them all of this. Rin then summoned a demon-slaying sword from his hand and prepared to fight as Nickel adopted a formidable battle stance and stealthily extended a tail for a sneak attack. Just as he was preparing to attack Rin with numerous tentacles in a combined assault, he suddenly found that all his tentacles were immobilized in mid-air by Rin, unable to move. Nickel, terrified, realized he could not move, while Rin declared the battle over and told Esli to return. Esli initially thought this was some sort of sealing or binding power preventing their movement, but Rin explained that he couldn't use such abilities. Perhaps his grandfather could. The reason Nickel couldn't move was that he was already dead. Nearby demons, shocked by the unfolding events, reported back to their bases. Just then, Rin appeared behind the sniper demon and killed him. The demon lord, seeing this, was forced to urgently convene a meeting to discuss viable strategies. Despite the headache of dealing with Rin, who had been around since 800 years ago, the demon lord scolded his minions, calming them down. The current demon forces indeed could not match them. But they couldn't keep hiding forever. The three knew Idaten might become formidable monsters any day. So they planned to wait for them to scatter and then strike them individually. The demon lord believed that as a deity standing with humans, Rin wouldn't easily slaughter humans, so they hid in the human kingdom. However, he didn't anticipate Rin's decision to eliminate the entire human kingdom. Seeing this, Esli urged Rin not to startle the enemy, but to seek out Prontea to discuss strategies. Rin was undecided, but Prontea had already been dispatched to patrol the world and was now unlocated. Unknown to Rin, Paula knew where Prontea was. They decided to spend a week searching for him. During this week, Esli planned to devise a perfect solution. Meanwhile, the demons finally discovered Nickel's body, but her head was nowhere to be found. At this moment, the demon generals also discovered that both Gyudo-kun's body and Nickel's head were missing. There was only one possibility. They had been taken by the gods using humans for research, a task only Hotayena was capable of performing. Indeed, Paula and two others had arrived at Hotayena and even encountered the legendary invincible Prontea. Just as he was greeting Paula and the other, countless flames burst from Prontea's hands, burning Esli instantly. This was a result of Prontea's recent research into magical powers. Upon seeing Nickel's corpse on the ground, he instantly understood their purpose. Simultaneously, the trio from the demon clan arrived at the location, using human authority to conduct their investigations. Afterward, Paula and her companions entered Prontea's residence, where she discovered that Prontea had used her will to monitor the entire world. Esli then informed Prontea of their purpose. Prontea, seeming to collapse in panic, frantically apologized, hoping his master would forgive him. Clearly, Rin's shadow loomed large over him. Gradually, Prontea calmed down. Esli needed to use the power of Prontea's will to hack into the Empire's computers to ascertain the number of demons, ensuring they could completely eradicate them. Additionally, Prontea was needed to help train Hayato. After stating this, Esli took Nickel's corpse to a local laboratory. Meanwhile, within the Demon Kingdom, Brandy discovered Esli's whereabouts and subsequently sent General Pizarra to handle the situation. On the other side, Prontea, igniting into a ball of fire, burned Hayato, but the flames caused no harm. After Hayato retaliated, he found he could not touch Prontea and was easily caught by him. Prontea then casually unleashed a freezing spell, controlling Hayato with an explosion following. Yet Hayato appeared unharmed before Prontea. However, no matter how Hayato attacked, it was ineffective against Prontea. Finally, Prontea knocked Hayato down with an energy ball. Just as Prontea was about to reveal Hayato's weakness, a massive rock fell from the sky. While the demons were celebrating their mission completion, Prontea caught the rock with his head, feeling no pain or pressure, even amid the shattered rocks. Instantly appearing in front of the two demons, he punished them. Meanwhile, Esli was brought by a researcher into a warehouse, where, seeing the researcher's terrified expression, he was suddenly struck by numerous strands of hair, but managed to dodge them. Pizarra then appeared before him. On Hayato's side, they faced Cory, who had transformed into a huge maw. Hayato pushed Paula away, and fell into Cory's mouth himself. Paula immediately launched several attacks, but none could harm Cory. After landing, she kicked at its vital spot, effectively. Free from the trap, Hayato, lacking decisive offensive capabilities, and his opponent unable to break free from him, continued their standoff. Prontea summoned a sword and threw it to Paula, instructing her to fight with it. As Paula lifted the great sword, she struck Cory with such force that it cracked the ground, terrifying Cory into paralysis. Prontea hoped Hayato would use this great sword in battle. Just as Hayato took up the sword, Cory immediately surrendered. However, the next second, Hayato casually threw down the sword, stating that winning with such a weapon was meaningless to him. He prepared to rely on his own strength to defeat his opponent. Meanwhile, Esli discovered a blinding, bright light that could cause significant disruption to Pizarra. He quickly threw a flash grenade directly at Pizarra, who closed her eyes in response. While she mockingly claimed it did no damage, Esli pointed out that her clothes had been torn apart in that instant. Pizarra, embarrassed and enraged, revealed a heightened sense of pride among the demons, who, despite possessing advanced intelligence for reproduction purposes, were also sensitive about their dignity when not engaged in reproductive activities. Esli took advantage of this by verbally provoking Pizarra further. Triggered by the insult, Pizarra launched ancient strands of hair buried underground at Esli, but he easily dodged them. Having witnessed these tactics during Rin's encounter with Nickel, Esli knew they would be ineffective against him. He threw another flash grenade to force Pizarra to close her eyes again. After the flash, Pizarra saw Esli unmoved, which made her suspicious. Suddenly, a strange fragrance wafted through the air, and Pizarra finally understood why Esli had been talking non-stop. She collapsed, weakened. Esli explained that although toxins were ineffective against pure demon species, demons possessed human brains which, while capable of enduring severe pain, were vulnerable to pleasure. The toxin was a mixture of high-concentration anesthetics and stimulants, which had an effect on Pizarra, as her human emotions feared failure, resulting in her current predicament. As Pizarra lay paralyzed, confused about Esli's intentions and fearing some indecent act, Esli merely suggested that unhealthy activities might be better. However, as a scientist, only an operating table excited him. He menacingly took out a scalpel, and the blade neared Pizarra. Meanwhile, Cory and Hayato continued their fierce battle, culminating in Hayato's final blow that left Cory defeated. At that moment, Prontea received a call from Esli, informing him that Pizarra had been successfully brainwashed through surgery, and summoned his two companions to the operating table. As the surgery progressed, the demon trio was officially declared annihilated. Meanwhile, the kingdom continued to monitor Rin via satellite. With Miku's appearance, she continued her usual antics, teasing clueless boys, only to receive a harsh reprimand from the Emperor. With the completion of the surgery on Esli's side, Cory and his companion officially joined the ranks of Idaten. Prontea then began to inquire about the current number and strength of the demon population from Pizarra, who detailed the remaining number of demons at 359, including 3 notable ones: Queen Consort Zobla Blant, Emperor Takeshita, and Umeo, the midwife. Umeo's strength lay in her ability to suppress newborn demons, briefly encapsulate them within her body, and integrate them with humans, thus creating demons with human form and intelligence. This is why they continuously kidnap women from the human kingdom for education. But at this moment, Pizarra suddenly stopped. She was very puzzled. Was Prontea really standing on the side of humans? She was incredulous that he had no reaction to her earlier statements, maintaining a calm that seemed almost impossible. However, Prontea also expressed that they would not concern themselves with the ethical growth of humans. At this point, Esli suggested that Pizarra and her two companions go undercover. By combining forces from within and without, they could surely clean up. But Pizarra pointed out that the 3 of them could not possibly enter the kingdom because of Miku's presence. Although Miku lacked combat strength, she was capable of commanding the movement of battleships from the control room. Miku's existence was different from the normal fusion of demon cells with human infants, which was generally unstable in both form and strength. Instead, she was born under artificial interference with unhealthy factors, which, though it deprived them of the ability to transform and significant power, endowed her with a strong capability to process information. Miku possessed powerful insight. As the battleships moved, Rin's actions also began to change, which puzzled the Emperor. Why did Miku know their next move, even predicting her actions? Miku did not speak but took the Emperor out of the room and informed him that Rin had been maintaining a stance that could annihilate all battleships in an instant. Thus, her actions changed with the alteration of the battleship's battle formation. Miku also understood that if Rin did not want to kill humans, she could simply leave her current location. However, her continued presence there indicated that there was something on the island that she needed to protect. At this moment, the doctor appeared with a repaired body and told them that the place where Rin was located was a demon seal. Opening this seal would face 3 problems. Firstly, they did not know how to break the seal. Secondly, they did not know how to destroy the island that Rin was protecting. And finally, reviving some unintelligent demons would also bring countless troubles. Meanwhile, Esli was curious about what kind of existence the Demon King was. Paula believed that the Demon King was the consciousness of the demons, like Prontea. Then, Esli whispered to Pizarra, who confirmed his statement. The strange phenomenon of the Demon King's birth was similar to Prontea's control through telepathy. This view was also confirmed by Pizarra. The Demon King sought them out by hacking into the national surveillance system. Clearly, Paula's description of the Demon King as a Idaten born from a demon basis was entirely correct. Because of the fusion of demon and the deceased Idaten's will, he had developed a protective stance towards demons and also possessed Idaten's wisdom. However, due to being a recomposed entity, his memories were very chaotic, and his physical body could not leave the barrier. He could only rely on his telepathic emissions through machinery to let others know of his existence. Later, as Hayato and the three demons were undergoing special training, no matter how he attacked, he could never break through Pizarra's body and was even bound by Pizarra's hair, unable to move, until Nept knocked him out with a punch. While the intense training continued, Prontea suddenly emerged from underground and released a scale, asking Paula to step on it to see if she could make her weight lighter. As Paula closed her eyes, the needle on the scale also moved to the 0 position. This demonstrated that Paula was adept at moving silently. By relying on this method, she could easily perform reverse detection on walls or ceilings without concern for air resistance. While many Idaten could easily make themselves lighter, becoming heavier was another matter entirely. This required a powerful imagination akin to extracting weapons from one's body. Adding several tons might take hundreds of years of training, whereas a few dozen pounds could potentially be learned in just a couple of days. Clearly, Hayato lacked this type of imagination. He was given a boulder to hold in his hand to remind him of the current weight of standing on the ground. However, Hayato clearly lacked the patience for this and kicked the entire mountain to pieces, then called Pizarra to come and fight. Pizarra did not refuse, seeing that Hayato obviously had not mastered this skill. But the next second, a heavy punch sent Pizarra flying, exciting Hayato immensely. Pizarra was shocked. This truly enhanced his own attack power. However, to prove that the attack was not a fluke, Nept attacked him again. As he withstood Hayato's continuous punches, he sensed that the punch's power had indeed increased, and he was even able to use this power effortlessly in his strikes, which even made Prontea acknowledge his genius abilities. Hayato had only trained for 80 years, yet he had attained such strong power, which was utterly incredible. This made Prontea realize that compared to conventional training, actual combat was more useful for Hayato. He then allowed Hayato to attack him. As Hayato kicked at Prontea, not only did it cause no damage, but Hayato himself was kicked away. Meanwhile, Miku was watching Hayato's battle videos in the kingdom, finding it strange that Hayato was clearly strong, but unaware of it himself. Pizarra and her two companions were evidently captured, and although they were tight-lipped, Miku felt they could not endure interrogation for much longer. At this time, Brandy also began seeking an escape route for his children, letting them secretly leave with some of the demon race. Elsewhere, Esli and another person came to a place within the kingdom. Gods are not inherently just, nor are demons inherently evil. Since gaining intelligence, all their actions were merely for survival and propagation. However, because of this, the Idaten gods wanted to exterminate their race. Prontea instantly cut off the Zobra kingdom's access to the outside world, causing Miku, who was fleeing, to panic. They intended to isolate the kingdom on an island and then slowly purge the many demons within. This meant that besides Miku and the fleeing princes, all demons would be eliminated today. Meanwhile, Rin arrived in the kingdom with Hayato, and soon after, Rin drew her demon-slaying sword, causing a building to collapse with one strike. This terrifying power stunned all the demons present. The Demon King then realized that the Idaten had no intention of distinguishing between humans and demons, but planned to exterminate the entire kingdom. At this moment, Pizarra's voice came over the broadcast, declaring a military coup for the kingdom. She asked the civilians to please hurry to the refuge. However, the other soldiers clearly did not approve of Pizarra's actions and even wanted to resist. As a flash of light passed, countless architecture instantly shattered. It turns out that Rin, who is far away, is continuously using weapons to destroy the city. At this moment, Hayato also tries to stop her from recklessly acting and informs Rin that in the Prontea district, humans and demons are distinguished. We simply need to kill those who are clearly not human. At this time, the demon youth Salamander decides to confront them. But with just one strike, Rin kills him and keeps running through the kingdom. Throughout the kingdom, many demons are seen fleeing continuously, yet they are still being killed by Prontea from a higher position with a single arrow. And so far, everything seems to be going very smoothly. but they still haven't found the 4 characters mentioned by Pizarra. On the other hand, Rin encounters another interception by demons, but ultimately they are easily killed by the 2. Rin then realizes that Hayato's abilities have become stronger. Hayato suggests they split up to increase their efficiency. Just as Rin is about to agree, a demon whose heart was pierced earlier suddenly attacks again, which surprises Rin. Despite their hearts being pierced, the 4 demons are not yet dead. Several demons attack Rin, and their movements become even quicker. But this does not stop Rin. With a flash of her blade, 3 heads fall. Unexpectedly, a demon appears and steps on Rin's face, which surprises her. But before she can react, numerous fine threads appear and restrain Rin. It turns out that Brandy, a demon, is controlling her with her hair from afar. Meanwhile, a captured nun prays for divine help. At this moment, Hayato breaks through the wall. Hayato wonders why humans are still here, and then realizes that the so-called iron pillars blocking human escape are actually cages, which he destroys. As the nun wonders what kind of creature Hayato is, Emperor Takeshida's voice appears, declaring himself a god, but not the god you know. Takeshida decides to take Hayato's head and blocks Hayato's attack with just 1 finger. The 2 engage in close combat, with Hayato at no advantage. Under the dust, Takeshida successfully pokes Hayato in the eye. Despite this, Takeshida acknowledges Hayato's strength and takes off his coat, ready for a quick decision. Meanwhile, Rin has already destroyed the scene. Brandy, from a distance, feels that her strength is too terrifying and releases countless strands of hair to control the crowd. Upon careful observation, Rin finally spots a hair manipulator in the distance and launches an attack. But before she can reach her, she is repelled by a hairnet. Angry, she gets up and slashes with her sword, but her arm is unexpectedly cut off. After a series of actions, with her body badly damaged under the control of the hair, Rin becomes furious. Subsequently, she directly regenerates her limbs and wraps the hair around her arms. The next second, she spins her body wildly, and countless strands of hair wrap around her body towards Rin. Just as Brandy tries to immediately cut the hair, Rin wraps her in a giant hairball. Then the hairball starts to emit a blinding white light, followed by a loud explosion. Brandy falls from the sky, and Rin finally finds the manipulator behind this. Rin does not rush to kill Brandy, but begins to ask her where the Demon Lord is. Brandy says she doesn't know what the Demon Lord is. Just then, Dr. Ubami, the Demon Lord, appears, and informs Rin that watching her battle brought back many memories, even pointing out the source of Rin's weapon, which makes Rin recall everything from her past, and is horrified to wonder why the Demon Lord would know about her past. At this moment, she also discovered that although the Demon King's appearance was completely different from her grandfather's, some of his small gestures were strikingly similar to those of her grandfather. It was as if she had returned to her childhood, the crybaby who followed her grandfather around. She felt almost no desire to fight. Seeing her like this, Brandy knew the opportunity had come. In an instant, he used a strand of hair to lift his demon-slaying sword and struck at her. Rin's body was shattered into pieces, and even Brandy himself was surprised by this force. Brandy tried to strike again to completely annihilate Rin, but with only half of her body remaining, Rin strangled Brandy to death with her bare hands. Meanwhile, Hayato launched another attack, but Takeshida penetrated his chest with a single strike. However, Hayato, undeterred by the pain, broke Takeshida's arm. The 2 then distanced themselves again. Takeshida was shocked by Hayato's resilience, feeling only pain despite such a severe injury. Soon, the 2 engaged in a final clash. "Let this be the end," thought Hayato. After a flash of white light, a breathless Hayato managed to defeat Takeshita. However, Takeshita did not press the detonator in his hand, perhaps retaining a shred of human decency, unwilling to destroy the entire kingdom. At this moment, a nun appeared, attempting to rescue Takeshita. But given that Takeshita weighed over 500 pounds, she, a mere mortal, could not possibly move him. Overwhelmed, she began to cry and desperately prayed for the strength of a deity to save the world. Under this prayer, a new deity resembling the nun, embracing her will, emerged from the origin point, led by Hayato. As this new deity was largely influenced by the nun's will, it bore her exact appearance. With this, the demonic empire of Zobla was overtaken by these new gods, and Pizarra led a military coup, taking complete control of the kingdom. a new Zobla was born. In the midst of many investigations, it was discovered that 13 demons and 2 infants had escaped. Among them Brandy's 3 children, the deserting Miku, and Umeo, who was pregnant with twins, as well as their assistant Merku, and Croft, skilled in underground movement. During these events, Esley and his companions found bodies of nobles brutally murdered by non-human forces on the frontier, which Pisara believed to be the work of the fleeing demons. Among them, Kuraishi, using his princely status and the demon's formidable power, wielded significant influence in the human underworld, thus having more resources than the relatively unconnected Miku, who was hiding in an internet cafe. Utilizing online diaries and chats, she had already identified an ideal host to parasitize. Meanwhile, Croft was staying in a motel with Princess Reiki, understanding the need for Reiki's abilities. She could use the power of her hair to silently acquire funds from many humans, facilitating their escape. However, as the room service bell rang, Rocky sat up in panic. Informing Croft that the waiter had no wait, Prontea had come to hunt Rocky. With no response to his knocking, Prontea kicked the door open only to find the room empty. Soon, Esley arrived at the scene, noting that the area had been surrounded by the police early on, and no one was seen escaping, suggesting the only possibility was an escape through underground tunnels. As Prontea lifted the furniture, he found countless tunnels beneath and began his search using his incredible speed. Esley also understood that Croft must have prepared many branching routes to confuse them and hide the correct path. Finding it would require 100 times more effort. Indeed, as Prontea exhausted himself, he still failed to find them. Meanwhile, the fleeing Croft asserted that he could never return to human streets again, or he wouldn't be so lucky next time. However, at this moment, Rocky threw a tantrum, unwilling to continue this way. Croft had no time for her complaints and kissed her directly. He needed her power. By sweet-talking and comforting Rocky, he managed to persuade her. Simultaneously, Miku had arrived at her target location. She covered the mouth of a woman there and entered the house. Before the woman could react, she stabbed Miku's arm with a pen. However, Miku seemed unconcerned, expressing a liking for the pain and pleasure the body provided. It turned out that Miku chose this woman because she never left her house and did all her shopping online, with all her financial and credit card information available via email. Realizing the woman was no longer of use, Miku had Merku deal with her. Using abilities, Merku perfectly replicated the woman's face, then had Umeo clean up the body. Thus, the trio officially went into hiding at this location. Meanwhile, on a distant island, Buzz and another were attacking a low-intelligence monster. Suddenly, Meliano shouted for Buzz to stop, revealing that this was their child. Obviously, this so-called child lacked intelligence. It turned and jumped into the sea, constantly devouring various marine creatures. With no other choice, Buzz and the other came to Pisara seeking help, hoping she would save their child, considering their demonic kinship. However, Pisara, upon learning that the newborn had been born 2 months earlier, stated that it was too late for integration with human cells and that they had to abandon it. Just then, Pisara asked Buzz if he knew of any other's existence. Buzz said he didn't know, but he sensed something wrong with the environment and prepared to flee with Meliano. Suddenly, a giant mouth appeared and swallowed Meliano, and in his anger, Buzz was about to retaliate when Cory split him in 2 with a single strike. On the other side, Miku and her companions were nurturing the seeds they had sown. She watched the news of a giant sea monster attacking people and realized that the opportunity she had been waiting for had arrived. The chaos caused by the monster would distract Virudika, allowing her to meet with the Demon King. With the arrival of a package, a robot toy appeared, which she photographed and posted in online shopping logs. Now they just had to wait for the Demon King to make contact. However, Merku couldn't understand how the Demon King would determine that they had posted the message. It turned out that Miku had thought of this step when planning their escape, leaving a contact method in the escape information for the Demon King, consisting of adjectives that couldn't be found anywhere else on the internet. Therefore, if they appeared, it was undoubtedly them who had provided it. This foresight amazed Merku, revealing the terrifying extent of Miku's planning. Just then, the robot's body emitted the Demon King's voice, constantly scolding Miku for retreating without fighting. As the Demon King calmed down, he expressed his need for a laboratory to be effective. Kuraishi must have already prepared one for the Demon King, and the group only needed to contact him. Miku had long figured out how to reach Kuraishi. She instructed the Demon King to inform Kuraishi of their current situation during their next communication, which would allow him to contact them. As the call was made, Kuraishi received the mysterious information provided by Miku. Returning to his residence, he shared it with his companion, who quickly realized it was the secret key they had used while playing games in their childhood. They immediately began to decode the information. Following the clues from the information, Kuraishi found the small robot that the Demon King had possessed. Meanwhile, Miku had no intention of meeting with Kuraishi and the others. Gathering together would only make it easier for Virudaka to capture them all at once. On the other hand, Rocky continued to live a shameless life on a deserted island. One day, Miku boldly appeared on the streets, even killing civilians to draw Virudaka's attention. Although Prontea arrived, he was unable to find Miku in the shopping center, puzzling Esli about how Miku could have escaped and the significance of her actions. Meanwhile, Kuraishi announced that the experiments were complete, and the next step was to capture Esli, who had the strongest planning skills in Idaten. They also continuously stirred up the public, inciting riots under the buildings, causing Esli a great headache. However, he still reminded Pizarra to go rest. When Pizarra left, she felt Esli's terror. Despite their long acquaintance, he had never shown any interest in her, which was disappointing. Pizarra, appearing distraught, was noticed by a male soldier whose concern made her very uncomfortable. Suddenly angry, she shut the door and went back to her room. In the shower, she noticed the ventilation system seemed broken. As she decided to end it all, she felt her body react strangely and realized it was the same poison as before. As she collapsed, the bathroom door burst open, and the earlier man appeared with a sinister smile, saying, "I've seen your body many times during health inspections." Pizarra instantly knew he was possessed by the Demon King, as his mechanical body could transform into anyone. After a while, Esli felt something was amiss, as Pizarra had not returned to her room on time. He thought it was due to her lack of rest, and continued with his work. At that moment, Pizarra confronted Esli, inquiring about Prontea's whereabouts. As Esli responded without thinking, Pizarra knew he was not at the base and immediately attacked. Esli then realized that Pizarra's brainwashing had been undone, and immediately tried to activate his communication device in his mouth, but it failed to start. The Demon King had preemptively disabled the electronic signals, and seeing the Demon King, Esli understood that Miku's appearance had been part of the plan from the beginning. As Esli was captured, Pizarra also came to Paula's side and instructed Cory, who followed them, to go eat and rest. At that moment, Cory, who harbored no suspicions about Pizarra, started eating buns, but suddenly felt overwhelming drowsiness and collapsed to the ground. Then, the Demon King appeared, remarking that Cory was much easier to deal with compared to Pizarra. Meanwhile, Rin wondered why Paula had not returned yet. The nun decided to use her cell phone to inquire, but got no response. She then called Prontea, who was busy dealing with demons, informing him that she could no longer contact headquarters. Prontea immediately sensed something was wrong, and upon returning to the base, he indeed found that Esli and others had vanished. At the same time, Esli and another were appearing on the demon tribe's operating table, undergoing relentless torment by the demons. Could it be that Esli and Paula are doomed to die at the hands of the demon tribe?